If you want to know what's next, what the future holds, and what trends or topics you need to be aware of, well, the best place to look is actually in the past. There's an expression you may have heard that goes, "Those who fail to learn from history are condemned to repeat it." This is because history repeats itself. There are patterns, and the better you're able to see and understand these patterns, the better you're going to be able to predict what's coming next. Wayne Gretzky, fellow Canadian and hockey legend, is famously quoted as saying, "Skate to where the puck is going, not where it's been." But what's rarely acknowledged is the genius behind this quote, in the fact that yes, not only is Gretzky able to predict the future and essentially arrive at the place the puck is going to be, but how that prediction is made, which is based entirely on where the puck has been before. Essentially, the past predicts the future. In this case, it's just simple physics. An object, in this case a puck, has a force applied to it through a hockey stick, and then it starts to travel in a very predictable path. But this same principle of history repeating itself and using the past to predict the future, and essentially a variation of cause and effect, well, these same things can be applied to human behavior. In their book Pendulum, authors Roy Williams and Michael Drew state that we become an entirely different people every 40 years. Now, when they're talking about we as a people, he's talking about us as a collective whole, as our entire society, rather than just you or I individually. The way that they phrase it in the book is that our society, us, all of us, well, we swing back and forth between a me generation and a we generation, and then back to the me, and then back to the we. Right now, we're at the peak of a we generation, essentially the absolute top it's going to be. So over the next 20 years, we're going to start to drift towards the me generation, and 20 years after that, to complete the 40-year cycle, we'll be at the peak of the me generation. The we is all about the common good and fighting against the common enemy. This realization and this understanding of this pattern that's repeated itself for generations and hundreds, if not thousands of years, well, it influences and affects everything about our lives and how we do business. It prioritizes conformity for the common good. It applauds personal responsibility and being accountable for your actions. It believes in teamwork and synergy and the fact that two heads truly are better than one. It believes in creating a better world and a better future, and so much more. While these cycles typically take around 40 years to swing from one end to the other, well, even over the last 10 years alone, I've watched more of a transition and more of a trend away from me and more towards we, especially in the online marketing space. You see, back a decade ago, where I used to see ads all the time and promotions and offers that were promoting excess consumerism and fancy lifestyles and Lamborghinis and Ferraris and mansions and yachts and things like that, well, now I see the complete opposite. I see ads that are focused on freedom and lifestyle and social responsibility and making the world a better place. This is not a coincidence. This is a predictable, repeatable pattern, and one that we're going to see again. So what is next year going to look like? Well, for most people, it's gonna look a lot like this year. You see, they did a study and were trying to come up with a weather prediction system, essentially an algorithm that would predict tomorrow's weather, because we all know that weather prediction systems are flawed at best. Anyway, at the end of the day, the algorithm or the weather prediction system that won was the one that most closely predicted tomorrow's weather to be a lot like today's. For example, if today's weather was sunny and 70 degrees, well then this prediction would say that tomorrow was going to be probably sunny, probably around 70 degrees. This is because rarely are there dramatic or drastic swings in society or behavior, or even the weather. Even hurricanes and cyclones and mass weather events, well, they tend to rarely snap like that, but rather they build up, and there are early warning signs. But let's leave weather aside for a second and talk about humans. According to the National Science Foundation, the average person has somewhere around 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts every single day. What's interesting though is not just the absolutely massive amount of thinking that we all tend to do subconsciously and consciously, but the fact that of those 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts, 95% of them are repetitive thoughts. This is why tomorrow is probably gonna look a whole lot like today, unless something changes. You see, people in general don't like to change. According to a Harvard Business Review article, the reason people don't like to change comes down to a number of different factors. Change signals a loss of control. Change creates excess uncertainty. Change can often lead to feelings of embarrassment or incompetence if you're not equipped or not able to deal with a new situation. Overall, change just feels scary, uncomfortable. And yet, not changing is one of the most dangerous things you can do in your life and in your business. This is why the phrase, "we do it because that's the way it's always been done," is one of the deadliest things you could ever say if you want your business to survive and thrive. Change is necessary for growth, and as the quote goes, uncertainty is the only certainty there is. So how can you change and evolve and adapt and put yourself in the best possible situation for the future? Well, we've already covered the importance of studying and understanding the past. So the next thing you need to do is focus on the present and taking action now in one of two ways. The first option is baby steps, and the second option is what I call change catalysts. Let's talk about change catalysts first, because they're a little scarier. Essentially, one of the fastest, albeit one of the most shocking ways to change, is to dramatically alter your current situation or surroundings. This typically occurs when you move or experience some kind of massive loss or even massive win. Essentially, some kind of major life event triggers you, and it opens up all sorts of new possibilities and new potential. These events, however, are tricky to control, definitely uncomfortable. So you can do it if you want to, and if you're presented with the opportunity, say to change jobs or careers or move to a different city or something like that, well, that may be the catalyst you're looking for. But there is another way without such drastic action, which is baby steps. The key with baby steps is to think of some large change or large goal you want to achieve, and then work backwards to the smallest, almost imperceptible change you can make on a day-to-day basis that'll work consistently to get you towards your goal or end desired outcome. For example, let's say you want to run a marathon. Well, on day 1, you could just buy a pair of shoes. On day 2, you could put on those shoes. Day 3, I don't know, walk down the driveway and back up again. Day 4, you could walk around the block, and you could do this for a week. Day 5, 2 blocks. You get the picture. The point with baby steps is to, number 1, make the action so small that it would be almost impossible to fail at. And number 2, understand and appreciate that these effects, well, they're going to compound over time, resulting in massive exponential changes in the long run. All right, the next thing you're going to want to do is check out the video I have linked up right here, which is exactly what you need to see next. So make sure to check that out now, and I'll see you in the episode.